nothing but untidy. And so the universe then has no choice. First attribute of the secret place. The secret place is a place of revelation. It makes you free because it awakens you and makes you consciously aware that everything that you thought was holding you is an illusion. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Emerge movement. I'm Isaac Miles. I'm your host, and I am so glad that you have decided to join us for this conscious conversation. It is going to be a good one tonight. I know it's a little bit late, but we did this on purpose. I hope that you tuned in earlier to Earth Shakers at 7 p.m. With Theresa Watson. It was absolutely wonderful. I just sat back quietly and listened the whole time, really enjoyed it. And now we're coming on right behind her with more empowering, impactful information to help you to live the best life that you can possibly live, to be the highest version of yourself. We've been having a really intense, expansive, and robust conversation around embracing your truth, embracing your truth, and helping you and giving you the tools to help you to be able to show up in life as your truest, authentic self, to be able to show up in life as the highest and best version of yourself, and to live in your authenticity, your truth. That is what is true for you. And it takes a lot of courage, a lot of bravery to, once you finally discover what your truth is, and you rediscover your truth, rediscover your identity, you rediscover your voice. It takes a lot of courage to stand in that space. But when you do, it is the most liberating experience that you will ever have in your entire life. And you will never want to leave that space because you have found the place where you can truly experience freedom, free from all of the vestiges of the bombardment of informations and expectations that have been placed upon you from the time of your conception up until this time right now in your life, where you're becoming more consciously aware and enlightened, and starting to understand that much of the behaviors, attitudes, dispositions, perceptions, and perspectives that you have held for years are not a result of your own knowing, nor are there things that you have arrived at on your own, but they are positions that were hoisted upon you, that were forced upon you, that you were bombarded with the entirety of your life. And because faith comes by hearing, that is what we accept, embrace, and believe as our truth comes by what we consistently hear, ekion, that we continuously hear, because you have constantly heard these things, that this is what you should be, this is who you are, this is what you should do, what you should not do, how you should behave, how you should not behave, this is good, this is bad, this is up, this is down, this is right, this is wrong, this is holy, this is unholy. Then you have begun to now adapt to all of the regiments and the rules and the expectations of the society around you. And in the midst of doing so, you have misplaced your true identity, misplaced who you really are. And when you speak now, it's not with your own authentic voice, but you become the ventriloquist dummy that's just repeating and regurgitating what has been placed inside of you. Somebody else's hand is up your back and pulling the strings and controlling what you say and what you do, because they control what you think. And if you can get control over how someone thinks, if you can get control over what they think, then you can control what they say and what they do. This is what makes religion such a damnable, dangerous thing when it is in the hands of unscrupulous or ignorant people. They can take the reins of religion and begin to brandish it like a whip, brandish it like chains, like a cage, like fetters, and begin to bridle your mouth and bridle your mind, and then lead you down a path where you are no longer speaking your truth, but you are speaking an ideology that has been fed to you. It's fed to you to the point where you are even afraid to ask questions about it. It never even dawns on you to ask yourself, why do I believe what I believe? And if that question is ever posed to you, you will brush it aside as a defensive mechanism, a coping mechanism. You brush it aside by saying, I just do. Well, that's not a reason. I just do. That's just what I believe. Okay, but why do you believe it? I just do. That's just what I believe. Because it is terrifying to you to really face and address that very real question. Why do I believe what I believe? What is the why to my what? Where did it come from? What is it based upon? Is it logical? Is it factual? Is it historical? Is it spiritual? Or is it just something that's been handed down to me from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next, and I don't have anything really solid and substantive on which I can say this is a solidified truth? Are you hearing what I'm saying? Okay. And so what we're trying to do is to give you the necessary tools to begin to unpack, to do the necessary work, the difficult, sometimes painful, sometimes very, what's the word I'm looking for? Conflicting work that's necessary to start to dig beneath the surface and find your authentic voice and find your authentic self that is now buried beneath that huge pile of gunk and spume mess and garbage that has piled up over the years of people's ideas, concepts, beliefs being imposed on you and demanding that you believe what they tell you to believe and you think what they tell you to think. And so we looked at several of the defense mechanisms that are used for people who are living in that place of fear. And that's what it is. Ladies and gentlemen, at the very core, at the foundation of these behaviors is fear. It is fear. The opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is fear. Perfect or perfected, matured, fully developed love casts out not hate, but fear. Because hate is the residue or the grandchild of fear. People hate what they fear. People judge what they fear. Are you hearing what I'm saying? People reject what they fear. At the opposite of love is fear. And this fear, and much of religion, much of its practices, whether it is Christianity, Islam, or Buddhism, or whatever, much of the practices of these religions are based in fear. It is a fear-based religion. You have this God who supposedly loves you unconditionally, but will get you and destroy you and hurt you and punish you if you don't do what it says and keep all its commandments. And that if at the end of your existence in this three-dimensional plane, if that God is not sufficiently satisfied that you have been dutiful and devout, then it will cast you into eternal flames and into hell, and you're going to have to suffer for the rest of your life. Or you're going to be reincarnated as a dog, a cat, or a roach, or some other kind of insect that's, that is a lower being or a lower creature. And or you're going to suffer mightily, or you're going to have to reap in the next life what you have sown in this life, and some other thing along those lines. Every religious order, every religious ideology has a dogma attached to it that is fear-based. And so to cope with the fear that you innately know is there, even if you consciously don't want to admit it, because you are married to the ideology, to the religious order, then you come up with defense mechanisms in order to be able to cope. Your defense mechanism, your coping mechanism. And we talked about some of them already. We talked about some of these personalities, some of these dispositions already, and I'm not going to go back through what we've already discussed, because I want to be able to just move forward with what we're going to be dealing with tonight. Okay, so if you missed our conversation about narcissism, that was on last night. It is still up on the page right now. You can go back and watch it on the replay. A lot of really good information there. I guarantee you that you'll be blessed by it. You'll be encouraged and empowered by it. And then the very first video in the series from Sunday night is up as well on my page, as well as on the Emerge page and on in the Emerge YouTube channel. So you can go there and you can watch those on the replay as well. Take notes and listen to it as often as you need to. But I don't want to use this time reviewing what we've already discussed. I want to go ahead and move forward in our conversation tonight and deal with two other coping mechanisms or dispositions that are taken and people take on when they are not fully consciously aware of their own truest identity, when they're not living in their truth, when they're not living in their authentic self. Then they take on these dispositions or personality traits or personality patterns. And we looked at the pattern of narcissism last night. Tonight, I want to focus in on two more. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to say, for those of you who are on right now, do me this one favor. Take about 30 seconds and just like, tag, and share. Like the video, tag it with as many people as you desire, and share it on your page. And those watching on YouTube, copy the link and share it in your group chats, in your family chats. Send it out to all your friends in the text so that they're able to come over and join us live in the conversation. Now, it's really good to watch on the replay if that's what you need to do, but nothing beats being a part of the conversation, the live conversation as it's taking place, because then you get to give your input in the comments, and I'm able to answer any questions as well as address your thoughts and ideas as well. You become a live contributor to the conversation. So go ahead and do that for me right now. Like, tag, and share. Okay? Like, tag, and share, and then we're going to jump right in. Okay, I think that's all I needed to say on that. Let me see. I don't know if I want to talk about that right now or at the end of the broadcast. I don't know. Let me say it here. I'm going to say it now. We want to certainly send out good vibrations, our thoughts, and our prayers for those 19 children who were slaughtered and murdered in Texas, along with three other adults who were teachers. I think they're at the elementary school in Texas. While we also remember the families of the 10 Black victims who were slain at the Tops grocery store just a week earlier. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't recognized it, this world right now is in chaos. If I didn't know what I know and didn't know that I know what I know, then I would just be terrified about what tomorrow is going to bring. But I understand that there is a cosmic pattern, a cosmic spiritual pattern that is ongoing and infinite in the earth, and that always before new order takes place, there is always chaos. There is always darkness, a shifting that takes place, and then comes a new order. And so I understand that pattern is taking place, but it doesn't make it any less painful. It doesn't make it any less difficult and draining emotionally to see these things taking place and to watch what is happening here in the United States of America, really the divided states of America. There's nothing united about the states here in this country. They are more divided than they have ever been. We are divided along social economic lines, racial lines, cultural lines, ethnic lines, and the power structures, the powers that be, have designed it to be so. Nothing that's taking place is by accident. Everything that's taking place is 100% foreseeable by those who are in power, those who hold the levers of power. It is 100% foreseeable. Okay? And so the system is not broken. It is working exactly as it has been designed to work by its designers. It's doing everything that they have designed for it to do. I'm talking about the American system right now. I'm not speaking globally. I'm speaking nationally about this country. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do. And this may cost me a few followers or listeners tonight, but I'm still going to say it because it's been in my heart to say so, that this country is a racist country. It was founded and built on racism. White supremacy and racism is woven into the very fabric of the foundations of this country. And so no matter how many other legislative laws are passed, unless we are willing to first own up to and then face our very real racist past and racist present, then real permanent change will never take place in this country. You can pray and fast and slobber and roll on the floor. You can declare in Jesus' name, if my people who call by my name will humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from the wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and forgive their sin and heal the land. All you want to. Okay, but true repentance, that word repentance means to have a change of mind, a drastic shift in your conscious thinking. And the consciousness of the soul of this country is dark and dirty and filthy, and those who hold the levers of power have no desire to change the consciousness, to shift the consciousness of the country. And it's by no accident, ladies and gentlemen, as crazy, kooky, racist, evil, and wicked as Donald Trump and Marjorie Taylor Greene and some of these other Looney Tunes out there are literally millions of people. You cannot eradicate the reality that Donald Trump received 70 million votes. He lost. Absolutely, he lost. But 70 million people in this country decided that we're okay with racism. We're okay with misogyny. We're okay with xenophobia. We're okay with hate. We're okay with criminality. We're okay with all of it as long as we can be in the position of power. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a country that's the soul of its the consciousness of its soul, rather, is sick. Eyes are blinded, lest the glorious light of the gospel, the good news, should shine into it. This country is desperately sick. So we pray for these families and pray for these victims, but there comes a point where thoughts and prayers are not enough. Are y'all hearing what I'm saying? It's just not enough. After you get through praying, it's time to take some action. And if you want to send thoughts, how about shifting your thoughts from just thinking, oh, how sorry I am for them, to thinking of how do we come up with solutions to make sure that this never happens again. And I'll repeat something that I heard Senator Murphy say Representative Murphy say when he was on the House floor the last night, that America is not the only place that has mental health issues. People have mental health issues all over the world. There are violent video games being played all over the world. There are violent television shows and movies, same movies that show here, show all over the world. Yet we are the only country in the world that has this kind of problem. Mass shootings in schools, churches, at events is a purely American phenomenon. You may have spatterings of it here and there in other pockets, but we have the overwhelming majority of those things happening right here in this country. And so until we decide that there is something absolutely wrong here and we're ready to start telling the truth about it, instead of a whole bunch of obfuscation and lying, things are going to continue the same way. So it does matter. It matters who you vote for, how you vote, the people that you put in the position, that they are people of integrity who are not just giving you lip service. Okay? I just wanted to mention that right here at the top because it's just really, it's been really bothering me ever since this last event took place from TOPS. And then this happened with these children. It has just really, really bothered me. And it still bothers me. Still bothers me. That's a conversation that we definitely need to have, and it needs to become a national conversation. This is not, even though there are global problems, this is a purely American problem that needs to be dealt with. Okay? Definitely need to deal with it. Definitely need to deal with it. And those of you who are living in Georgia, man, listen, I know that on the Democratic side, there wasn't a whole lot of competition going on. So maybe you just sat home and said, well, you know, Stacey Abrams is going to be the person running for governor, and nobody's running against Warnock, and nobody's doing this, that, and the other. Okay. But now the primaries are over, and the actual election is going to be coming in November. If you don't get out and vote, you're going to keep people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, as nutty and crazy as she is, in office. And yes, I'm calling names. And no, I'm not a nonprofit, so I can say what I want to say, and the government can't say anything to me about it. Okay? And if you allow people as crazy as Herschel Walker with his buck dancing, never mind, anyway, shoe booty self, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Brian Kemp, and all of these to remain or to return and get into power, you're in bad shape. And it affects not only Georgia, but the entire country. We're in bad shape. And races all around the country. You know, there in Texas, especially, and those, all the people who are watching me who live in Florida, dealing with that nutcase you got down there in DeSantis. A complete and total nutcase. He is a craven, deceitful liar. I'm telling you. All right. Anyway, I'm going to get off my soapbox on that, and we're going to get back to this teaching, what we've been doing. And tonight we're going to focus on this coping mechanism of enabling and also codependency. Okay? Let's talk about enabling first. What is an enabler? What is it? I knew I was going to lose some people. I dropped down from about 15 to 16 down to about 9 or 10 of you on now. I knew I would lose some of them, but that's okay. You know, it's just truth. It's just the truth. Okay. So what is an enabler? An enabling is a term often used in the context of relationship with an addict or with some other maladaptive behavior. It might be a person who's a drug addict or an alcoholic or a gambler or a compulsive overeater or a liar or a narcissist. What an enabler is. An enabler is a person who sees it as their mission to remove the natural consequences to the person who is performing a bad act or whatever for their behavior. It becomes their mission to remove the natural consequences to the person's behavior. They're there to shield them from the consequences, or in the church world, to cover them. Good night, Almighty. I don't know how covering became covering up, but that's essentially what it was, what it is in the church world. You know, I need people who going to cover for me. What you mean is you need people who are going to cover up for you and enable you. That is, remove the natural consequences for your behavior. To stand in the gap as a shield to make sure that they block you from any of the natural consequences that come as a result of your maladaptive behavior or your action. Enablers operate out of fear as well. They most often will tell you, I'm doing this because I love the person. But love, that's not an act of love when you are shielding someone from the natural consequences of their behavior. Everyone has to be accountable and responsible for their own choices. Let me say that again. Every person, including you and I, have to be responsible for their own actions and choices, held accountable and embrace the consequences for the choices and decisions and the actions that they take. An enabler says, I am going to shield you. I'm going to be the go-between. I'll take the bullet so that you don't have to. I'll take the hit so that you don't have to. And you think that that is an act of love, but it is an act of enabling. What are you enabling? You are enabling the bad behavior, because consequences are designed to reflect back to you the effect of the seeds of causation. Remember the law of cause and effect. For every cause, there is a definite, consistent, perpetual effect. And for every effect, there is a definite, consistent, perpetual cause. And so what an enabler does is says, I'm going to shield you from the consequence or the effect of the seeds of causation. What does that do for the person who has the maladaptive behavior? It enables them to continue in that behavior because they've received no consequence. You are essentially keeping them from learning the lesson that is laced within the experience of the consequence that would bring about change in their behavior, or at least present the opportunity for change. But when you act in a maladaptive or malicious manner without consequence, then what that tells you is that I must be right. It must be okay. And so there is no incentive for you to change. There is nothing there to be a catalyst for an awakening, because you have avoided the consequences of your choice, your action, or your behavior. Where there is no consequence, there is no change. Let me say it again. Where there is no consequence, there is no real systemic lasting change. Huh? Okay. Professionals warn against enabling because evidence has shown that a person experiencing the damaging consequences of their action in their life has the most powerful incentive to change. Often this is when the person hits bottom or hits the wall, or they bump their head, or they have, come to the end of their rope, and now they are forced in a valley of decision to make better choices. But an enabler says, I'm going to keep you from having to deal with any of that. I don't want you to change. I'm not requiring you to change. I'm not placing on a demand on you to be better. Why would anybody do this? We've already established this is not an act of love, because if you love me, then you will not shield me from the consequence, but you can support me through it as I go through the maturation process, the learning process, dealing with the consequence, as it strips away whatever it was that was within me that was the catalyst for the choice, the decision, or the behavior in the first place. But why does the enabler again stand in the gap and become the shield? Why does the enabler do it? Well, they do so most often out of fear. Out of fear and need. Or want is really not a need. It's a want that feels like a need. Yeah. They do it out of fear and a want that feels like a need. Ooh, that's good. They do it out of fear or a want that feels like a need. What one of the benefits, if you want to call it a benefit, for enablers is, number one, proximity. They view the person with the maladaptive, dysfunctional, hurtful, or narcissistic behavior as an important figure, as someone bigger than life, someone that they might even aspire to be like. And so in order to be in their proximity, in order to be a part of their inner circle, they fear being rejected or abandoned or pushed out of the circle. They then become the enabler of bad behavior. Because if I allow them to deal with the consequences, if I confront them with truth, if I'm not there to shield them, they'll think of me as being disloyal or not being a real friend or untrustworthy, and they may reject me and no longer want me to be a part of their circle. And therefore, I don't get that proximity to that proximity to their greatness, perceived greatness, that perceived ability or talent. It is now removed from me. We see this many times in the secular world with artists, and I won't name any, but there have been several famous artists, because they were the goose that laid the golden egg. Then the people around them who were focused on the golden eggs excused the behavior of the goose. And when they saw the goose being destructive and being malicious and behaving in a way that was dysfunctional and that could ultimately kill them, they ignored it often until it was far too late, because they were more concerned about the golden eggs than they were about the goose. And so in order to stay in proximity of the goose, they just kept feeding the goose what it wanted. If it wanted drugs, if it wanted alcohol, they would find a way to get it to them while keeping it out of the public eye, so that they could keep reaping the benefits of proximity. Are you understanding what I'm saying? I'm friends with so-and-so. I'm the armor bearer of so-and-so. I'm the personal assistant, the personal secretary of so-and-so. Are you understanding what I'm saying? Oh, yeah, I know them. And so you start name dropping. Come on. Oh, yeah, I was talking to, and you call them by their first name and whatever, and you're very casually and nonchalant. But what you're basically saying is, because they're shining, it shines on me. So I'll ignore all of their bad behavior, and I will shield them and cover for them in their misbehavior, in their abusive behavior, because I want to keep being the king's cupbearer. even though the king is raping and molesting children, even though the king is stealing and robbing from people, even though the king is behaving in a manner that is contradictory to that which they have been teaching and preaching, even though the king is behaving in a manner that they are not willing to own up to or tell the truth about. I'm going to be their armor bearer. I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. Adjutant. No, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm sorry. They're nurse. I'm sorry. No, enabler. Come on. And most often in the church, these armor bearers, adjutant, nurses, personal assistants are seriously just people who suffer from low self-esteem, low self-worth, have a lot of insecurities, fall into the role of armor bearer and become the enabler of their pastor leaders' bad behavior. They become the cover man. They become the one who drives the getaway car, who hides the evidence, who buries the body. Y'all ain't hearing what I'm saying. So that they can continue to do what they've been doing without consequence, convincing themselves that there's nothing wrong with what I did. If it was, then there would have been a consequence. Since there isn't, must be okay. Are you hearing what I'm saying? So the first benefit to the enabler, or what they think of as a benefit, is proximity. The second one is material wealth, material gain. As I talked about the goose that's laying the golden egg, they are looking at the golden egg, and the goose keeps laying those golden eggs, and sometimes I get a piece of the gold. Y'all ain't saying nothing. Come on. Well, they bought me, new wardrobes, new clothes. I get to travel with them. They paying my way. I'm staying in some of the nicest hotels. They put a little money in my pocket. They had an appreciation for me. Come on. Or, I know Uncle Joe been molesting these little girls, but I mean, Uncle Joe is the one that's always giving me money to pay my rent. So I'm just going to pretend I don't see nothing, and I ain't going to say nothing, and I ain't going to, because I mean, hey, the man paid my rent. He's the one that always giving me money when I'm in need. Oh, oh, Lord have mercy. Are you hearing what I'm saying, though? I know I'm making light of it, but it's true. What persons do you know, or are you one of those persons that people will enable your bad behavior because they want to be a part of your circle, or because they like the material gain that comes their way as a result of just covering your bad behavior and shielding you from consequence? Or maybe you're shielding others from consequences because you like the material gain that comes as a result of you being their getaway driver. Y'all ain't saying nothing. You're the one who's burying the bodies, hiding all of the evidence. You clean up the crime scene to make sure they don't get caught so that they can maintain their image. Most narcissists look for an enabler to partner with. Someone who's going to be there and tell them how wonderful, how great, and how magnificent they are, that they're always right, they'll never do anything wrong, and who will help to maintain their image. Hello. Help to maintain their image. That's the second so-called benefit to the enabler, what they think of as a benefit: proximity, material wealth or gain. Third is position, not just being in proximity, but man, I get to have a title. I get to be in a position. I get to be in a place of authority myself. I'm not the ultimate authority. I'm not the big boss, but I'm a boss. Especially when the narcissist, I'm sorry, the pastor, the bishop, the leader says, when they speak, it's just like me speaking. Whatever they tell you, just assume that I'm with it. And now it's like, yeah, that's right. I'm the pastor's right hand. I am the pastor's voice. I am the pastor's feet. And so you ignore their maladaptive, malicious, ungodly, dysfunctional behavior so that you can hold on to your position. Mike Pence comes to mind, y'all. Classic enabler. Mike Pence comes to mind. So he could maintain his position as a vice president. He totally covered for all of the, it didn't matter what crazy, outlandish, stupid, idiotic, malicious thing that Donald Trump would do. You could depend on Mike Pence to stand there behind that podium and make him sound like the most sane, intelligent, wonderful human being that ever lived, because he wanted to maintain the position and hoped that after Donald Trump was gone, he could become president now following that. And so I need to maintain a position so that I am able to move into the place of power. And so I'm going to cover for your stupidity. I'm going to cover for your terrible action. I'm going to cover for your hateful behavior because of the position that it affords me. Huh? How many of you have demanded that people cover your behavior if they're going to maintain a position as your best friend, as your assistant, as your second, your number two, your vice, your whatever? Or how many of you have been in the place where you enabled bad behavior because you wanted to hold on to your position? You didn't want to lose your job. You didn't want to lose your position. You didn't want to lose your title. And so you became an enabler. And again, you convince yourself this is an act of love and loyalty. This is me loving them. It ain't got nothing to do with me. It's not the position. It's my love for them. Come on. You're lying to yourself. And you become an enabler. How many of you have done it for your children? Oh my, I just stepped in it then. Where you shielded your children from the consequences of their actions, from the outcomes of their choices and their decisions. And it is a fact that as long as they never have to deal with the consequences, they'll keep doing it. When I was pastoring a local church, and I've done so in several different cities, so you won't know which one I'm talking about. There would always, actually it was in all of them, there would always be people who would come to the church, and then after that, if the church said, no, come to me for financial help. Usually, because the lights were getting turned off, or there was no food in the house, or they were getting evicted from their house, or they were somebody was locked in jail and they needed money to be able to get them out. And And we have been guilted into thinking that the only godly, nice, and caring thing that you can do is to intervene and take care of the expense for them. Pay the light bills so the lights won't get turned off or get them turned back on. Go out and buy them some groceries and fill up the refrigerator and bring all kinds of food so that they won't be there hungry. Go and pay the mortgage or the rent so that they don't lose the place where they're living. Go and come up with the money for bail because you know that their child, praise the Lord, they're a good child. They just made a bad decision, and just help them get them out so that they don't have to stay sitting up there in the jail, only for them to turn right around the next month or the month after and be right back in the same position again. Ooh, I know this is getting tight right now. It's getting real tight. It's getting real tight. It's getting real tight. And it's not that I've come to understand it. It's not that they didn't have the money in order to be able to do these things. It is that they have come to understand that if I don't have it, then you will. So I can take the money that I should be using to pay my light bill, to pay my rent, and go use it for something else that I desire because I know you are going to enable my bad spending habits, my bad budgeting habits, my bad saving habits. You're going to enable all of that by coming and running to the rescue. You're my guardian angel. You're my knight in shining armor. You are the one that's going to be my bridge over troubled water. Hallelujah. You're an enabler. You're an enabler. You are enabling bad decisions and bad behaviors. You are shielding them from the consequence of their decision. Are you hearing what I'm saying? You kept the car from being repossessed, went and paid it off so that the credit wouldn't be messed up and they wouldn't lose the car because they need that car. They got 3-4 kids. They can't be having all them kids and don't have a way to get around. Well, they knew they needed the car as well and they needed to make the payment, but they chose not to make it. And you just came in as Captain Saver. Yeah. And rescue them from the consequences of their own conscious choice and enabled their behavior. You became an enabler. Come on, I know it's tight. This is real tight right here. Okay? Let me get some of these comments before I go any further. Let me go back. Yeah, Diane says that when you enable people, you hold them back from growth. Absolutely true. You are absolutely right. Beverly says, I don't need recognition from friends that bad. I'm my own circle. Diane says, covering up for someone so no one knows that they're full of crap. Yes. Okay. All right. Diana says, sometimes it would have been eat to let them suffer. I think what you meant to let them suffer the consequences. Mama used to say the good has to suffer with the bad, and that's the shame that people run games on the church. Yes, it's a shame. It is an absolute shame. But you guilt the church and guilt the pastor. All that money y'all taking in from tithes and offering, and you mean you can't help people with their light bill and you can't help them with their mortgage and their rent? First of all, ain't all that money coming in. Y'all keep looking at all these mega churches. Believe me, I pastored before, and I wasn't pastoring no mega church. I can tell you right now, I looked at the financial reports. There wasn't no whole heap of a bunch of money coming in. And usually the money that came in a church of about that had maybe 2 or 3 or 400 people on the roll, you had about 10 or 12 people that were carrying the load of the entire church, while the rest was just coming. Y'all ain't gonna say nothing. Okay? And so the preacher, the pastor, the board members, and everybody, that they get guilted into enabling bad choices and behaviors. Parents get guilty. Well, I can't let my child be sitting in the dark. Why not? Why not? I can't let my child lose their car. Why not? Why not? But what the enabler also gets from enabling that behavior is a sense of importance. And now I get to put my cape on and say, look at me. I am super friend, super mama, super armor bearer, super, pastor, super this, that, or the other, because I was there for them all. Call me, here I come to save the day. Y'all know nothing about that Mighty Mouse, huh? And so you get this false sense of greatness while enabling the bad behavior and choices of other people. Okay? Proximity, material gain, position, and then the power proximity. And we talked about that, the power dynamic. That, if you got the right kind of narcissistic leader, then they'll put some of their shine on you, and now you have power by proxy. Well, Pastor said, and Pastor told me, and Pastor sent me. Well, Mama said, and Daddy told me. Well, the boss said, and kind of like the straw boss who was out in the field yelling at the other black people and slaves who were out there working the fields and saying, Master say do this, 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 this. You couldn't tell the straw boss that he wasn't a boss, that he was a slave just like everybody else, because he was in the proximity of power and enabled their atrocious and destructive and tyrannical behavior. Sometimes the white masters would even have the straw boss whip slaves, other people who look just like them. Whip them, kill them in the name of the slave owner. Come on, y'all remember Stephen from the Django? Hey, don't you touch my white master. Y'all remember Stephen? Or Herschel Walker, Tim Scott, or Candace Owen, or, oh my, yeah. Enablers for the masters because of the proximity to power. Ben Carson. Because of Lord have mercy. The proximity to power. And so they enable that behavior. Okay? So you have proximity, being in the inner circle, material gain, position, and then the power of proximity or the power dynamic. All right? And so they look to become an enabler so that they can participate in that. Now, it's been an hour already. I haven't even gotten to codependency. Lord. Oh my goodness. I didn't realize the time had gone by that quickly. Great day. All right. So I guess we'll come back tomorrow and we'll pick up with codependency. I thought I'd be able to get both of them in tonight in one conversation. But man, you're right, Diane. It was just getting good. I'm enjoying it, man. Goodness. Wow. But it's almost 10 o'clock. It's 9:40 now. And so wow, it's been over an hour. I don't want to tire you out, because I know not everybody is sitting at home or retired. There's some who have to get up and go to work in the morning. I'm one of them, amen. So, you need to get your proper rest. And I'm not going to take advantage of you by asking you to stay longer. But what I will ask you to do is to mark this particular video and then set your clock for tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll be back on, and we'll come on at 7:30 instead of 8:30. Tomorrow, our regular time at 7:30. And since we'll be coming on earlier, maybe then we'll do an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours on tomorrow as we deal with the codependency. I want to deal with codependency tomorrow. I might do the latter part of enablers because I haven't finished all of it yet. And so we'll start with the latter part of enablers and then get into codependency as well. Okay? Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of this conversation. As always, I want to give you an opportunity to demonstrate your value of this platform and these conversations. Thank you for those of you who have been giving and being generous and showing your appreciation and love for the work that we're doing here. I want to encourage those of you who are watching now, especially those of you who have never given anything, or it's been a long time since you've given anything. I want to encourage you tonight to give just as a means of appreciation. I'm not promising you that you're going to wake up tomorrow with $1 million in your bank account and a Mercedes sitting in the driveway. I'm saying that this is the way that you can demonstrate your appreciation and love and support for this particular platform. And you do begin to create a wave of currency circulation in your life. That's how you enact the laws that govern abundance and govern increase and prosperity, is by giving. So go ahead and take a moment and do it right now. Don't put your phone down. Don't try and wait until later because you know you'll forget all about it. You'll get to, watching TV, or you'll go lay down and fall asleep, and tomorrow you'll be busy and won't even think about it. So while I'm talking to you, take your phone right now and do a quick Cashapp or a quick Zelle and show your appreciation tonight. No amount is too small. So give whatever it is that you desire to give, and we appreciate each and every one of you. We'll see you on tomorrow night at 7:30 sharp. Until then, you have an absolutely wonderful night and an even better tomorrow.